What up? What up? Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. On this show, we talk about crowdfunding, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, how you can raise funding from the crowd. And one of the things I love to do is to really just bring on people that are seeing success and are experiencing success. And one of the great things about our guests is that they are so transparent. They're so open-minded. They're so willing to share with you what they're doing behind the scenes in order to be successful. So first of all, I really want to thank everyone in the Crowdfunding Demystified community for being supportive of the guests that we have on, for also just lending a kind word here and there when it comes to iTunes reviews, when it comes to Spotify reviews, etc. It means so much, and I really think that having a thriving community like this is one of the reasons why we are able to get such incredible, stellar guests. I think today is a great example of that, having someone come on who's raised over $450,000, right, when it comes to this new product that they've created, they've been talking about for years. I mean, these guys were buddies, right, and they were thinking about doing this product, and eventually they were able to bring this to light. So you're going to kind of hear a little bit of that story today, as well as I think a really innovative approach to kind of, I think, what's important, which is having fresh and clean air in our indoor environments in life. You're also going to hear their story, right, when it comes to how were they able to actually focus on this? How do they know they had a winner on their hands? And how they know they had something that kind of had that Kickstarter-esque quality, that X factor that we talk about sometimes when it comes to crowdfunding. You're going to discover that and more, some of the tactics that went into their project in being successful on the actual platform, some of the recommendations that they have, some of the advice that they would give to you if you are a first-time or a multi-time creator, if this is not your first project, or it is. I think that you're going to take a lot of value out of today's episode when it comes to launching and raising money from the crowd. One thing I wanted to mention before we get into today's episode is that I publish a weekly crowdfunding tips newsletter. This is a great option if you just want to get some free advice, some free tips, some free tricks, things that I'm discovering every single week, stay on top of some of the cutting edge trends, and also just kind of get in the know about new resources that you might not even be aware of. You can go and sign up for this free weekly crowdfunding newsletter that I've been writing. I think I've been writing it honestly since around 2013, 2014. So it's been a long time that I've been covering that. I have people all the time replying like, Sal, I've been on your newsletter forever. I've listened to all these episodes. So it's so cool, as well as like to get a direct source to the community where you can also reply to those emails and I see them. And I'm getting a lot more, but I do try to read them and to check them out. So if you want to just go and sign that up, go and check out crowdcrux.com/newsletter. That link is crowdcrux.com/newsletter, crowdcrux.com/newsletter. Go there, enter your name and email, and you will join my weekly crowdfunding tips, killer crowdfunding tips newsletter. From the other one thing I want to mention is that I have put together a free course for those of you that kind of want to discover the ins and outs of Kickstarter, what's working today when it comes to the platform, a lot of the up-to-date things when it comes to that, as well as some of the marketing techniques and marketing strategies that I stand by in order to drive funding from the crowd while you're both live, before you're going live, after you're going live, all the different phases that comprise a Kickstarter campaign. I will be sharing that free link for you for those of you that are interested at the end of today's podcast. That being said, let's hop into today's interview and learn how the Canairi Fresh Air Monitor team was able to raise more than 6 figures with their campaign, how they were able to smash their goal, and some of the advice that they have for you. And it's coming up right after this. If you're worried about the fulfillment and shipping part of your Kickstarter campaign when it comes to getting out all those perks and rewards to your backers, rest assured, I've put together a complete Kickstarter fulfillment and shipping checklist for you, and it's free. This is sponsored by the folks at Fulfillrite, and they thought that you should have this checklist as part of your arsenal going into a crowdfunding campaign. If you want to get instant access to this checklist and it's free, you can go to fulfillrite.com/checklist. Again, that is fulfillrite.com/checklist. fulfillrite.com/checklist. Just go to that link and you can download it immediately. Hey guys, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. And we have a mega success on the show as they raised over $400K with their Kickstarter campaign, more than 3,000 backers, and a really interesting, really cute, and also very innovative product for a fresh air monitor, which also has a very interesting design. We have the creators here on the show today. We have Hans, we have Andreas. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Salvador.
So maybe we can kind of get started. And as you guys hear my questions, you can also see whoever it makes sense, but I might address Hans. Can you just talk a tiny bit about this campaign, this product? Who is it for? Can you just describe it for the listeners so they can get a sense of what you guys are doing here?
Yeah. So I think I'm going to start with the problem that it's solving, because I think that products should be solving problems. Like otherwise, it's just useless products. And the problem that we want to solve is the indoor climate problem, which is actually a really huge problem, but it's also invisible. So it's not something that we talk too much about. But actually, we spend 90% of our life indoors in the Western world. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what's wrong is that we live in houses that has become so airtight due to better isolation and just better housing. And the problem is that the air gets trapped inside and it doesn't get refreshed. And typically the air outside your house is 5 times more clean than inside. And you need that air for your lungs, basically. Otherwise, it will, like if you don't have good ventilation in your home, it will increase the risk of headaches, fatigue, sleep disorder, and allergies. And sleep disorder, which is the root to everything evil, sleeping bad. That's the problem.
Okay. And in terms of your solution, maybe Andreas could chime in there. What have you guys really built or what have you designed to kind of combat this?
Well, we looked at the problem, and we also saw there were other indoor air quality monitors on the market. What we were missing was something that was a bit more talking to our emotions. We feel like a lot of the products right now were engineering products made for other engineers. They were not talking to our emotional and behavioral side, not nudging us enough.
They're boring. Yeah.
Basically
they're
boring. Yeah. It's something you want to hide behind your sofa and not something you don't want to bring forward and present to your guests coming in. So basically what we did was looking into this and how could we solve this? And then Hans came with that brilliant idea to look down in the coal mines to find a solution. And that's where we find Canairi.
Yeah, I mean, I love the design. It's so playful. It's so well looking. It looks very minimalistic. And, it also kind of has that cute factor as well, right, when it comes to it.
Thanks for that. That's actually what we went for. Like maybe not the cute factor, but like the humor in it. Like design doesn't have to be boring in order to be minimalistic. It can still have a little bit of humor without being childish. And as I said before, like we're targeting an invisible problem, and that was kind of calling for a visual solution, which made us look into the mines, as Andreas just said, and came to think of the coal miners who used canary birds back in the days to detect toxic air. And by that, they knew when to get out of the mines, which is like one-to-one reference to what we're trying to do and communicate with our product.
So what were you guys doing before you really embarked on this journey with this product? What was your day job? What was your life like before you really started on this?
Yeah, we were not in the indoor air quality industry, that's for sure. Personally, I was in banking. I have a background in financing and banking. So it was not like a natural thing to dig into the indoor air quality industry. And Hans, maybe you can also elaborate on yours.
Yeah, I came from a more creative background. I've been working as an art director and concept developer at different international advertising agencies as the person who comes up with new campaigns. I've worked for clients like Canon, Carlsberg, Swatch, Burger King, like big clients, and helped with basically selling their products through creative. So in that sense, it's kind of close to this, yeah.
How did you guys meet, out of curiosity?
We met back when we were 9-10 years old in primary school, where we became really good friends. And then we actually went to high school together also. So we have known each other for almost 20 years.
And tell me the story of kind of, you both deciding to work on this together. Was that a conversation? Was that you've done different projects before? How did that happen?
We have done a lot of unsuccessful projects before. When we were kids, we had a lawn moving company where we would move the lawn of the neighbors, but we kind of missed the business model. So, and didn't really think of how boring it is to move lawns. Right, Andreas?
I think that sums it up pretty well. And I think a big mistake we also did was putting my mom's telephone number in our ads. So my mom would pick up the phone from all the neighbors, and she couldn't say no to that. She wanted to be on good terms with the neighbors, right? So basically, she sent Hans and I around in the neighborhood, mowing lawns for like years, and it was not a great business. That's for sure. But well, we stayed in contact after high school, and when Hans he got the idea in his school, he had a course in school. He visited me. I lived in Belgium at that time. Visited me in Belgium. And we briefly just discussed it, and we were both pretty hooked on it. And then COVID came, and everybody was kind of aware that ventilating your home is very important for your health. And we felt like, okay, now is a good timing. Now the awareness is really out there. Now people just need a good product that they understand and they actually want. So that kind of kickstarted our project and kind of put it in a way that we were a bit more professional looking at it and a bit more serious.
And at that point in time, I mean, you guys are kicking around ideas, right? And I'm sure you're trying to start to make prototypes. When did you really know that you were onto something? Like, why do you think that was something you really continued with, right? Versus other projects, maybe not as much.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm a professional creative, I get a lot of ideas, and my job is to present ideas tens of ideas to a client every day. So I'm really used to hear that my idea sucks. Like that's a part of the job. 50 out of 51 idea will suck. So every time I told this idea from a very early stage on, the impressions were just like so impactful. People was just like, whoa, this is such a great idea. I want that. Like before they even saw like a prototype or a sketch, they could just imagine it for them. A bird hanging on your wall, dropping dead when you needed to open the window. It was almost like a little pet, because like you didn't have to feed it, but you kind of did anyway. Like you had to feed it with fresh air. So actually from a really early stage, we knew that this has some potential. But then we educated in our different schools, and then we got full-time jobs for 2 years. And then the idea, it's kind of stood still for 2 years until we looked at each other and said, like, if we're really going to give this a go, it got to be now, because it's such a small window of opportunity you have. And here we had a good idea that we believed in. We had a team, 2 childhood friends with different skill sets. We didn't have kids or house or
those things. It
was it was the perfect timing.
Stars are aligning. Stars are aligning for sure. And you only get one shot at life, right? You don't want to be 80 years old and thinking about all the stuff you could do, for sure. So when it comes to this, like, how long were you working on these different prototypes and like that sketching phase before you really had that first working prototype, would you say?
Well, I think that the first drawing I saw when Hans came to Belgium, that was a completely different idea. And that was back in 2019. So during that period, we developed the idea, but as Hans said, it kind of stood still due to other factors. But exactly a year ago from now, that's where we really took a serious step into this project, and we start collaborating with people who were able to industrialize the idea and professionalize the idea. And that's where it really started to taking a more serious shape. Yeah, and then just from that point, we knew that a good way of doing this would be through crowdfunding and through Kickstarter. So we started maturing that idea already a year ago. When the first prototypes came in the summer of 2021 and were already working, we had a huge confidence boost that this was something where we could really do, and something we could do and kick off together.
How did you discover Kickstarter and crowdfunding? Had you looked at other products before? Have you seen other campaigns before? What made you decide to go down that route?
I think we have seen a lot of cool products, and I also made a commercial video for a Kickstarter project that went all right. It was like a windmill project. I made that video, and that kind of got us into that world and saw like, okay, you can actually present an idea and then get some funding for it. And then we, just by accident, we met a guy called Jonas Lind, who has made Sit Pack. I don't know if you know him. Maybe you know him. He made like a one-leg chair, and he built like I think $1 million campaign. And he just told us a lot of good advice on how you have to build a good newsletter. You have to just know what is this community all about, which was why I started to listening to your podcast like half a year ago. I think I DM'd you on Instagram, but I guess you get a tons of messages. I think I never got a reply. But then,
Sorry about that.
I think your PA contacted us, so I was just so happy when I saw that.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, it's so great that you were listening to the show And now you obviously come on as a success story. So that's so cool. And I'm glad that you took away at least some good things. One of the things I was really curious about when we were talking about pre-interview, right? There's this idea of like an X factor. This idea you were talking about of some of the things that really just work well, right, with crowdfunding. What made you like, what do you feel like that X factor is? How do you define that? How did you begin to incorporate that into your project? What makes something feel like it's a good fit for Kickstarter, in your opinion?
I feel like there's a couple of factors playing in. First of all, it's got to be like you got to ask yourself, do I want this? Like just immediately reaction, do I feel attracted to this? And that usually has something to do with the purpose of the product. Will it make my life easier or better or more fun? And also, does it look cool, simply? And in order to express those things, you kind of have to present it in a very slick way. So it will go friction-free through your head when watching a 2 to 5 minute video. So I think we kind of realized that from an early stage that like all the projects that we loved, they had a really nice video presentation, for example, that were fun and showed the product in a nice way and made it obvious why you would need a product like that.
Yeah, and also, if I can add to this, Hans, also like something that had an edge. So if we Kickstarter is a great place to test out ideas, but it also have to be ideas that stands out a bit from the crowd. So building something that is not on the market and presenting it in an edgy way, or at least a different way, I think that's really a key to stand out of all the projects out there.
I think one of our, I just think that our biggest advantage could just as well have been our biggest challenge, which is that we are kind of a product that is between a lot of categories. It's not like a decor, just a nice looking decor object without a function, and it's neither not a CO2 only detector technical solution with app connection, yada yada. It's like in between categories. So like when we put it out there, we didn't know if will there even be a market for this and how much will people pay. To be honest, we didn't even research how much people would be willing to pay. It was just a gut feeling that like, yeah, this should be all right.
That's so interesting for you to hear, because looking at the project and just the way it's so polished and the design and the video, like you mentioned, you would think that like a team of MBAs are thinking behind the scenes, right? And like deciding on the price point, deciding the analytics. But in reality, it sounds like you guys are just freaking passionate about this idea. You care about the problem. You want something that's beautifully designed out there so that people can enjoy it. It sounds like that's kind of really where your mindset was coming from, at least.
That's completely true. There's no pre-funding in this project. It's only me and Andreas and like our small savings, and then a lot of helpful friends that helped, holding the camera and did some editing. And we also had a musician friend who made the soundtrack. So basically, it's just us two guys and our friends who stapled it together. Yeah.
What did you really take away, in listening to the podcast and hearing some other people who were successful? What do you feel like you really took away? Was it inspiration? Was it advice? Was it any kind of techniques you want to share? What do you feel like was most impactful, at least from the podcast you listened to help you be successful?
I think people in your podcast talked a lot about taking the time before you launch the campaign, like the pre-launch phase. I think that's huge, like really huge. Like you cannot just post a video. That was we thought half a year ago. Like let's just post it and people will pick. You really have to lay some work in the months before you launch the campaign, and that means building a newsletter, which means creating some Facebook ads where you have pictures or videos of your product, and then give people the possibility to sign up for your newsletter, so they will know when you are going to launch it.
So basically making sure that you have people excited about this before you go live. And what did that do specifically for you guys? Did you have people who were backing this right out of the gate?
Yeah,
we did. We built up an email list of 3,500 people, and we had an Instagram page of 1,500 people. and they were really helpful to kick the campaign off. We really tried to stir the pot coming like 24 hours before and try to create some hype out there. And we can see that we that generated a lot the first day that came from all the work we did in the previous months to build up this small community of excited Canary baggers. So that was really helpful for us to kick it off. And we also, I think we generated, it was $30,000 in 2 or 3 hours. So it really took off. In
Only
a nice
3
way.
hours. What? That's insane.
Yeah, it was fucked up. I think it was 20,000 in half an hour. The first hour was just crazy. That's
wild.
Another thing that we did that's interesting was that we instead of just having one working prototype, we ordered 3 working prototypes, and then we gave them to test persons. But we didn't only do it to test Canairi. We also used the test persons as influencers and said like, hey, if you do a post on Facebook or LinkedIn with our product and a nice caption, we will give you like $50 for every email you generate. And then we actually got really lucky with one of my friends, Caroline, who has 2 small kids, and she posted a really cute photo of the bird and her 2 kids, and a caption talking about how her kids said like, "Mom, the bird is dead. We need to ventilate the home." And I think that got over 200,000 views on LinkedIn, and over 1,000 likes. And that was organically. I think she generated 1 to 1,500 leads to our newsletter, and it was completely free.
And so what platform did she post that on?
LinkedIn.
Interesting. We haven't talked too much about using LinkedIn, so that's really interesting to hear that. And when it came to that, how are you tracking the number of signups that she was delivering you?
We did on Squarespace, actually, we did a special link. We just did like a second newsletter, so we knew that
New page,
all the leads that came from that link.
Yeah, that's really smart and really interesting technique using LinkedIn in that way, and also kind of rallying their supporters to help you. So when it comes to how long were you actually doing the pre-launch? Because I think that's a big question. Is like, Sal, I don't want to keep people in this anticipation mode for so long.
No.
How long were you guys doing your pre-launch?
I think we did it, what do you think, Andreas? 2 months?
Yeah, I think we started making the first plans in beginning of January, and then we did our first ad spends in February. And in March, we also continued. It was kind of like in the beginning to shape it off. We spent very little amount of dollars on different ads to see which ads were performing the best and try to get a picture on how to do it. And also because we had no experience in advertising, like how to manage this advertising on social media. Of course, Hans have a long history of making the creativity behind the advertising, but the actual inside Facebook manager and inside Instagram manager, how to actually do it, that was also new. So it was also a learning phase. So if you're a bit more experienced in ad management on Facebook and Instagram, you can probably do it faster than we did. But it started to really generate from February, I think.
Were you talking about the campaign and Kickstarter, what you're doing from day one? Or was this something that you kind of seeded along the way? Like, when did you actually introduce that to people that you were going to be doing a project on Kickstarter?
I think we did that at the same time, 2 months ago, approximately.
Our caption was something like, "We are launching Canairi soon. Sign up for this newsletter to be the first one to get an early bird discount on Kickstarter," something like that. So I think we were pretty open about that from the beginning.
Cool. So when you finally get this funding, you get people backing it, like you mentioned, 20K in half an hour, 30K in 3 hours. What did that feel like to really, you've been working on this behind the scenes, you spent a year doing it, you spent multiple years talking about it, eventually it's out there. What did it feel like when people really started to actually, back this and take action on it?
I talked about LinkedIn before. I think that the word honored and humbled, overwhelmed, like it's very overused words on LinkedIn. But in this case, I think it's the most fitting words to describe the feeling. It was incredible. Like, as I said, it's our first campaign ever. We had no experience with doing crowdfunding, and we would have been happy with the campaign ending up funding $20,000. Like, that's a lot still. $20,000 less to loan in the bank. So yeah, it was completely crazy.
And you're also having people support you around the world, like Germany, US, right? UK, Canada. It's really resonating across the board in that way.
Yeah, I think we have, 38 nations?
Yeah, I think it's due to back to the emotional design. This is something that everybody understands. If you're 5 years old or if you're 90 years old, if you're from the US, if you're from Europe, if you're from China, you can understand this product. You know how you're gonna interact with this product. Right. It's really so it's really not something that have to stop at the Danish border. It's really something that speaks a universal language.
When that really happened, what was the kind of conversation you were having together? Like, did you guys go and just get some drinks? Did you like celebrate? Like, what happened behind the scenes there?
Before we launched, we kind of jinxed the whole thing because we invited friends and family to participate in a launch event when we were launching. And we actually had a lot of friends saying, like, that's so stupid. Imagine if like you receive no funds. That's going to be so embarrassing. But we were like, hey, we spent so much time on this. Like, we have to celebrate it, even though it goes super bad. So we just took a deep breath and we arranged a big party actually of 100 friends and family. And we gave a lot of drinks out and basically we just went for it. And I think, and that's probably also an X Factor thing, that because we did that, made a physical event, a lot of I don't know how to describe this, but rings in the water began. Like, then people started talking about, I went to an event with some guys launching a bird, blah, blah, blah. So people started talking. Like, it's not only social media that will get the conversation going, like good old mouth-to-mouth interaction can also get you somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. And it's also something where you can begin to have people celebrate the journey with you, right? Versus just trying to sell a product. It's like they're actually participating. They're actually rooting for you, right? To be successful in that way. And I think it's one of the more powerful ways to involve the people that are supporting this in your mission as well, right? Which is better air quality.
Yeah.
We got a lot of ambassadors right there that night. And we were celebrating the start together. It was not something that Hans and I was having alone there. So after that night, we had 100 Canary ambassadors willing to help spread the word. And I think we were also a bit more generous with the beer when we saw the campaign taking off. So there was something for all, I guess. And Kickstarter, it's really a community about being transparent and also opening up your business and get some feedback from the community. And that has been incredible. What we have been receiving of feedback from people who's been all around the world giving us some great advices and feedback on the product that you would never get on your own, and you can never generate that from your own website. That's very unique to Kickstarter, and that's I think that helped a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's super unique, like you said. So to kind of ask you a question, I mean, you guys have done a lot of different projects together. You've known each other for a long time. You have a lot of perspective here, right? When it comes to this, how would you fill in this blank? Success is about blank. Success is about, how would you fill in the rest of that sentence? When it comes to a new project, when it comes to something you're building, developing a product that resonates, or even how you interpret that. Success is about blank.
I think it's
difficult.
That's a big one. Of course, there's personal success, like having friends, family, people that you love around you. But in a crowdfunding sense, I think success is proving your concept. Yeah, proof of concept, basically, to have an idea and seeing whether it works or not. And to ask people for money for it is just a really good way of getting to know that answer, that question. Sorry.
And do you have anything to add to that one?
I totally agree. That's really like the sense of the Kickstarter, that you can get some proof of concept and get some serious look into the demand. And I think it's been just a great thing to be with Hans on this being together in this kind of crazy journey. It's been for 30 days, and it's been nice to have somebody to share this. Like, okay, did you see last night that we raised like $20,000 in one day? It's like some of these crazy marks out there. It's just nice to have someone to share that with, and it's been one hell of a ride.
I think we even had a streak of 16 days where we earned $20,000 every day, like 16 days straight, and it's a rush. And back to the success question, I think actually you can also say you're successful if you just take the chance and release a project on Kickstarter, because it takes a lot of courage to do, and it just means that you're not just following the straight road. You're trying to be vulnerable and put yourself out there with whatever idea you might have, and that's, I think, just going for your dreams is successful.
Yeah, I mean, to add on to that, I agree with you. I think it's really about having those ideas and not just letting them sit, right? But obviously doing it at the right time, but being willing to take action, being willing to put yourself out there, being willing to get something difficult together that's going to just delight other people, right?
Definitely.
If that makes sense.
And I think people also have to remember that now, of course, if this was a success, but having it been a flop, a failure, that would also have been an answer to us. That's also been something we could learn from, because as Hans described earlier, it was also about testing if people actually, wanting it and wanted to spend money on it. Not only family coming and say, yeah, we'll buy something, but, actual people out there that you don't know. So, and if not, there will also be an answer. That will also know, okay, at least we tried, we did our best, on to the next idea. So don't be too afraid of failure and flop. That's just an answer. That's just something you can act on. But not knowing it, that's where the real risk is.
I was going to ask you, so you've done a big launch here. What's next? Where can people go learn more about you? What are your plans for the future as well?
Well, now it's all about the production and making the product that people backed. And we will be available on all social media channels that we made, and we will be updating our backers on the Kickstarter community platform. So people haven't heard the last thing from us, that's for sure.
And I think actually you'll still be able to pre-order. So yeah.
And what link can they go to, or where can they learn more?
They can go either to our Kickstarter page. They will be open for the next month. They can follow a link there and go to our pre-order site. They can also just go on their Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, wherever they are on, and just search for Canairi, and they will find us there. And our website will be canairi.io, so they can also find us there.
Okay, that's canairi.io, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There'll be links to all our social media platforms there.
We put a little I in it, so you could have the word air. And I think, like, on a day where we are really in the mood, we like to say that we want to make a name, like we want Canairi to be the name of the category called indoor air quality sensors. Like we would like to end up in a future where you say, like, do you have a canary on your wall? Like, not just like an indoor air quality sensor. That's our personal goal.
Yeah, and I think that's also a really interesting way to think about it, because when people are excited to participate or excited to get a product and use it, they're more likely to care about it, right? So like, I don't care about an indoor air quality sensor. It doesn't sound interesting. But when you bring it to them in this kind of packaging and this kind of novel way, all of a sudden people start to care about that, right? Really start to think about that more. So I think that's really powerful.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. Thanks a lot.
So my final question for you guys is, you can speak directly to the listeners with this one. And it's really, if you had a mentor or you had someone that was giving you feedback or advice in the early stages, what kind of message would you want to have them share with you? It could be a word of encouragement. It could be a final tip about crowdfunding. It could be some advice when it comes to success, anything along those lines. And we can end on that note.
I can start. I think my best piece of advice would be to reach out to people. Most people want to help. Yeah, maybe actually reach out to, every time you have one question, reach out to 3 people. And then most times you get 3 different answers, but some of them are maybe almost the same. And then it's probably that direction I have to go. At least that has been our process and maybe strongest weapon, that we've really been open about, like, which way to go all the time, acknowledging that this is the first time we ever done a crowdfunding project. So we knew we had to really keep open ears to everything.
And don't underestimate the pre-launch phase. And it's probably something that most people know at this point, but we just can't stress it enough. It's really there when you start to learn what it's going to take, and you can start to learn some insights from the people that are going to back you.
Awesome. Well said. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. Also, so proud that you guys are a listener, and you also now have smashed your goal, right, with this campaign. So congratulations on all your success. I really can't wait just to see what more products that you guys have in store. Really interesting creative minds, and really appreciate you on the show.
Thank you for having us.
So awesome being here. It's an honor.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. My name is Salvador Briggman. Thank you for tuning in to today's podcast episode. We got so many great shows on this podcast. We literally, I think we're on 300 plus now. So you can go and you can see some of the different archives of that podcast. You can see it on iTunes. You can see it on Spotify. We do a version on Stitcher, and we also do a version on YouTube. However, on YouTube, actually, the versions I put out are a little bit delayed. So you want to get access to straight the most cutting edge, the most newest episodes, the freshest episodes that I'm putting out there for you guys. You got to check it out on iTunes or on Spotify. Great place to listen is in the car. Great place to listen is when you're on the way to work. If you're doing dishes, you're cleaning, you're going for a run around the park, right? It's getting to be warmer out there for those of you in the northern states. And this is a great time as well to listen and to learn. And at the same time, while you're also getting a little bit of that healthy exercise. I know I need a little bit more, honestly. But that being said, first of all, I want to share with you a free link to this course that I put together for that kind of is designed to not only get you started with a Kickstarter campaign, but also to share with you the things that are proven to work to get you funding. If you've been wondering, what do I have to do nowadays? Not a couple of years ago, what do I have to do now, Sal, in order to get funding? I think that you're going to like this course. It's also very easy to understand, very digestible information. Not trying to use any kind of whiz-bang fancy words or anything like that or try to confuse you. I'm really just trying to share with you what will work in order to help you get funding. So that way you can also come on the podcast as a guest. We can have more success stories. It can be a really incredible karmic nature in that way. I love it when we have someone who's been listening to the show and then comes on as a guest. It's always a very surreal experience for them. And also for us, it kind of gives us an inside track into what is working. And that just helps more incredible projects get funded in the world, which is one of my main goals, I would say. So go and check out this link at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter. That link is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter, crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter, and you will start getting some information from me once you enter your name and email. I'll start sending some free training videos. I'll start sending you some more information when it comes to how do you actually get this thing up and running quickly, and also what is proven to work to get funding. What are some of the engines that go into a successful crowdfunding campaign? What are the mechanics, if you will, to get the crowd taking action now? Thank you so much for listening. Give me a positive rating and review. I know it's such a hassle, man, to do that, but I do appreciate it so much when someone takes a second to just leave a positive rating and review. It means so much. And it's almost like a little bit of a tip. It's almost like a little bit of a thank you just for putting out these free podcasts for you. So thank you so much. If you enjoy this public good, this public service that I do, hopefully you like it. And again, my name is Sal, and I will see you next time.